Yesterday was bottom painting day, not the most fun of days. In the end I had to buy five. I bought five little tins instead of one big tin and a few small, and we used more paint than we thought, and that's because we learned a new lesson. So if you decide to go from navy blue bottom paint to white bottom paint, you end up with a little baby blue boat. I quite like the look. Candice is not a huge fan, but tomorrow's launch day, and this is what we've got, so we're going to have to stick with it. I am seriously considering going for a copper coat after all of this, because those can last 10 years instead of the year or so for normal bottom paint. And considering the copper coat is expensive, but painting your boat is expensive, and painting your boat is also a lot of work. If I can do the copper coat next season, it means that for quite a few seasons after that there's no big expenses and not a lot of work to do. So that's definitely on the cards. Anyway, what do you think of our mixture of baby blue and white boat? Now obviously there's areas above the waterline. The waterline is about here-ish. So the areas that are going to show we went over 3 times with the navy blue and the white, and then we went over it a second time with the white. So that's why the waterline area will probably look quite nice, and I think it's not a bad color. It's kind of like a slightly off-white. Might show a little bit of dirt when we're sailing, but hopefully not too bad. The rest of the boat looks like a while ago there used to be a fashion, you used to paint your house with some sponges to get this kind of mottled effect, and the rest of the boat is definitely very mottled. But I quite like the unique look of it. What do you think? The other thing to show you is that all of the top sides have been painted. Candice did a great job. Let me go and show you the rest of the boat. It's made quite a big difference. The whole boat is gleaming in white. For once we won't have the oldest looking boat in the marina. Looks great. So, top tip, if you want boat work done, go away for a long holiday and hope your wife does it. It worked for me. It's time to roll up the anchor as well. I've fitted a new pulley to the anchor. Looks much better. And I'm going to check that my cable ties are still on so that we can count the depth and get everything back into the anchor locker. And as usual, I have my trusty remote. Very easy job. Those ones look good. So 3 means if I'm more than 50 meters, it means that I go to 60-70 meters of chain over here. It's started raining underneath the boat, trying to get a last job done. One of the things that a lot of people can't seem to agree on is what type of anti-fouling is put on the stainless steel. As you can see, I've got stainless steel rudders. And the one option that seemed to come up as fairly successful was surfboard wax. So I'm trying some surfboard wax. You can see it's this rough surface. This side I've applied, and this side hasn't got any applied yet. It seems to stick quite well, and I'm going to give it a bit more of a try. I'm going to keep rubbing this stuff on. I haven't got any on my zincs, so I need to keep those quite clean. But I'm going to try it and see how it works. It's one of the few things you can actually apply underwater, so if it does eventually come up, this is a warm water wax. They do make one for tropical waters. I might play around a little bit. You can sort of swim under the boat and add a few more. Quite simple to apply. You literally just rub it on and it leaves behind a waxy layer. Yep, you can feel the nice waxy layer there. Apply it to the uprights as well. So yeah, hopefully this works. Last year I had no fouling on the boat itself, but I would have little green things growing on the rudder and I had to scrape it sort of every 2 weeks. I'll see if this is any better. One of the last challenges I needed to solve was about docking. So I've been struggling with docking, and the reason is quite simple. Let me turn around. As you can see, my motors are quite close together. In fact, they are only about a meter apart from the center of the prop to the center of the prop, and that means that your leverage to try and twist the boat isn't strong enough. So previously the motors used to be where the rudders are, or just in front of the rudders, so one over there and one over there, and that's easily about I'm guessing about 2 meters, maybe 2.5 meters apart. And so I needed to find a way to be able to dock, or at least get some more leverage when docking. There were a few different solutions, some of them quite difficult and quite expensive, like making the outboards all steerable. Other people are saying, well, look, you can probably move the motors another maybe 20-25 centimeters to each side, so you can get an extra half a meter, which would definitely make things a little bit better. But I've gone for a suggestion from a couple of different people on various different forums on what I think might be a fairly simple, fairly low cost solution, and one that also doesn't take a lot of sort of mechanical work. So I don't need to steer with the motors and the wheel at the same time. I can just steer with the motors like you would typically do with a Cadillac in low speed. So let me go and show you what I've done to solve that problem. So the first thing was I had to remove some space to allow the motors to turn a little bit, but only in one direction. They only needed to be able to turn out. So I removed this piece over here, and I did the same on the other side. You can see it's got a matching little cutout. And so my motors, I spent some extra money to get these steering arms which lock the motor in place so that it can't move while you are motoring along. But what I've done now is, by cutting out this section over here, I can lift the steering out of the lock and bring it around to the other side. What it means is I can push the motors in that direction, and I've drilled a little hole down over there, and so I can lock the motors in this position. And if I go and do the same on the other side, lift the motor out of its slot over there, spin it around, and like I did previously, we've got a hole over there we can lock it into. There we go. So that motor's locked, the other motor's locked. And now if I go back down under the boat, you can see that I've got a reasonably good amount of toe in on each motor. So instead of pointing straight, they are pointing at, let me stand directly behind the motor, they're pointing at what I believe is about 30 degrees. I'll need to do an accurate measurement. And that means that now I've got a sideways component with this motor as well as the other motor. So if I'm reversing, as we typically do to dock, and I reverse with, let me go to the other side, and I reverse with my port motor, it's going to take the tail of the boat and push it in that direction. And similarly, if I reverse with this motor, it's going to take the tail of the boat and push it in that position. in theory, if I run this one forward, it'll try and push the tail that way. And if I run this one backwards, it'll try and pull it this way. So by using the one in forward and the one in reverse, I should hopefully be able to turn it on the spot with a lot more authority. Now, the rough calculation seems to be that I'll get about 4 times the amount of horizontal thrust as I would with motors directly ahead. Previously I had about 11% authority, and with motors like this I believe I've got about 44% authority on the steering of the boat, or at least 44% of the effort could go into steering the boat. So tomorrow I splash down and I'll be doing a dock in, unfortunately, about 12 to 15 knots of wind pushing me directly onto land, so I need to get this right. But I will check it out and I'll see how it goes, and I'll let you know. So yeah, let me see how the props are working. Last test. So I've got my controllers here, everything's ready. So let's go move backwards on the right. There we go. Motor's running nicely, so that should pull me in that direction. And if I go forwards on the left, that should push me in the same direction. So in an ideal world I'll be standing still and the boat will now be twisting in this direction. And if I stop and I do the opposite, so go forward on the right and backwards on the left, ideally it'll now take the boat and it'll turn it in this direction. Let's see how it works tomorrow. I'm hoping it's going to be a game changer for me, because I mean, nobody ever really enjoys docking, but I've really struggled with this boat. One of the other problems is that my props are not pushing onto the rudder, so they are not they're not providing any steer, so the rudders have absolutely no effect at docking speed. Works very well every other time, but not at docking speed. And before I forget, if I run both motors backwards at the same time, there should be a bit of a waste of energy, but in theory the boat should at least go straight backwards, so I can still go straight backwards when I need to, and I can steer slightly left and slightly right, or completely left and completely right using the throttle. Yeah, let's see how it goes tomorrow. Ciao. So my electric boat is going to be moved by an electric crane, a rather large one. This is scary no matter how many times you've seen it. It always stresses me out. Apparently the boat weighs 5 tons, which is something I didn't know up to this point. For some reason on the weight certificate it said 7 tons. I never believed that. But unfortunately I don't have an accurate figure for when it was a diesel boat, so I can't tell exactly how much weight I've lost, if any. The tanks are virtually empty at the moment, so they're 80 litres each, so that would add another 160 kilos. But yeah, it's very low to the ground. It looks like a little sports car. Anyway, guys seem to know what they're doing. I do think the strap at the back needed to be a bit more forward. I think it should be at the back of the cockpit, actually, where those little hooks would have stopped it from sliding down, but I won't argue with the people that are lifting my boat. And then I've got to go and check for leaks.
What's the rub rail made of around your boat?
It's rubberish.
Should I take the jobs?
Oh, that'll be wonderful if you could. So I don't know where they're attached. If you can take that too, that would be fantastic. I think it's floating. That's a good sign. Now, yeah, now to go make sure there's no water coming in.
How do you stop it from bouncing against stuff?
And as you can see, the boat is floating. So we put it in the water. There was no issues except that there was somebody waiting to come in, so we had to do a very quick check to make sure no water was coming in, and then we motored across, and now we are sitting quite happily in a marina in northern Italy, and we're going to be here until we get our new mainsail, which I believe is coming in 1 month's time. And yeah, we're probably going to go for day sails in the meantime. We're very lucky that a friend we made in the boatyard actually owns this mooring, and funny enough, they've got a Cadillac as well, and they thought, oh, it'd be lovely to see what a Cadillac looks like in this bay, and offered us their space for the month. So that was wonderful, very kind of them, very, very nice people, Bridget and Imre. One other piece of good news to confirm, and I'll go around to the back of the boat quickly, is that it was very, very windy when I was coming in, and I know I've mentioned before about how I struggle to do steering with these motors, but my modification seemed to work absolutely perfectly, at least as far as I could tell. So the fact that I could tilt my motors seemed to give me full authority on the steering, and for once I didn't feel like a sitting duck with the wind pushing me over. When the wind did blow the nose out, I could use both throttles and I could steer it back into place again. And yeah, managed to do the whole docking just on throttle, which is very, very nice. That's the way I like a catamaran to be maneuvering. So far, the first test at least was very successful, and hopefully I'll get it out into the ocean when it's a nice windy day, and I'll put some buoys out. Maybe I'll weigh them down or something, and test that out. But yeah, very happy so far. Very happy to have the boat in the water. I think it's looking lovely as well. If you saw the new coat of paint, let me go and show you from the shore quickly. And hopefully you can see that my boat has been completely repainted top to bottom. All by my wife and beautiful dogs. And the bottom paint, we went for a white bottom paint, but we painted over blue, as you saw earlier in the video, but it's gone a very, very lightish blue color, and I think it looks beautiful. I think it looks brilliant. Let me see if I can find a better way to show you that blue color. I'm going to go to the other side. Not so easy to see. It looks mostly white there. You can see in the corner a little bit of blue sticking out. I actually like it. I wish they'd make bottom paint that color. Yeah, that's us. Thanks for watching. What's going on, you two?
Hello.
Hi, what's up?
Well, the dogs need a wash, so they're getting a haircut because they need their monthly mosquito, tick, flea and medication.
Lovely. On the front of the boat?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll come and grab that hair just now. Enjoy.